The much-loved resident was sexually assaulted by a local doctor several weeks ago. Before the incident occurred, the doctor had uncovered the truth surrounding baby Leyla's paternity and began blackmailing Charity, demanding money in return for keeping quiet. She insisted on receiving a huge sum of £100,000, leaving Charity desperately scrambling to raise the cash. To increase the pressure, the doctor warned that she would expose the secret during Sarah's birthday celebration if the payment was not made on time. Overwhelmed by stress, Charity began drinking heavily in an effort to escape her troubles. However, the alcohol also gave her the confidence to confront the situation, and she eventually told the doctor to go ahead and reveal the truth. Feeling as though she had lost control over the situation, the doctor reacted violently and attacked Charity. Shortly afterwards, Charity went directly to the police and reported what had happened. A detective informed her that the doctor would be arrested. Although that did take place, she was later released due to insufficient evidence after insisting the encounter had been consensual. The doctor then departed the village to start a new position in Sheffield. For the time being, she has avoided facing any consequences, leaving Charity devastated. Charity feels unable to tell anyone what happened, because doing so could also expose the secret about baby Leyla. Carrying these burdens alone has severely affected her mental well-being, and those closest to her have started noticing that something is wrong. In an attempt to explain her behaviour, she told Sarah and Mackenzie that she was suffering from post-natal depression. The deception only complicated matters further, as Sarah has now begun blaming herself for Charity's declining emotional state. In scenes airing next week, the pressure becomes too much for Charity, and she decides to leave the village in her car. A newly released clip shows her at her lowest point, standing beside a lake, while deliberately ignoring repeated calls from Mackenzie. Back at home, Vanessa, Sarah, Noah and Mackenzie are increasingly worried as they try to figure out where she has disappeared to. Unable to cope with the uncertainty any longer, Mackenzie contacts the police. Later, Charity is startled when an unfamiliar woman emerges from nearby bushes. Noticing her distress, the stranger attempts to comfort her, but when she makes physical contact, Charity reacts by striking her. Rather than becoming angry, the stranger responds with understanding, suggesting that Charity's reaction came from someone who does not want to be touched without consent. But who exactly is she? The newcomer reassures Charity that she can be trusted, and Charity seems close to finally sharing the truth. However, could that decision prove risky? If she confides in this stranger, she may discover that the woman is a new arrival in the village, with no reason to keep her secrets protected. Meanwhile, tensions are also mounting elsewhere, as Chaz appears close to reaching breaking point while supporting Mackenzie through the crisis. As events unfold, could the truth finally emerge and bring Charity the freedom she desperately needs? A heartfelt act from Cami gives Cain exactly the encouragement he needs as he continues adjusting to life after surgery. One of the most difficult consequences of the operation for Cain has been losing complete control over his bladder, something that has dealt a significant blow to his confidence. When his catheter was finally removed, Cain marked the occasion with a trip to the pub, seeing it as proof that things were beginning to get back on track. However, after drinking too much, he struggled on his journey home to Wishingwell. During the walk, he suddenly found himself desperate for a toilet and ended up relieving himself at the roadside. The situation quickly escalated when police arrested him for public urination and drunken behaviour. What hurt Cain most wasn't being taken into custody or spending the night behind bars. Instead, he was mortified that strangers had witnessed his loss of bladder control. Afterwards, he decided it would be easier to stay indoors rather than risk another embarrassing incident. Unfortunately, that decision started affecting Kyle. Although the youngster knew his father had been unwell, he didn't realize the real reason Cain was avoiding spending time with him. Since Cain wasn't being honest about his fears, Kyle began believing that his dad simply no longer wanted to be around him. Everything started to change after Cain received some advice from Liam, which encouraged him to rethink his approach. Determined not to let his condition control him, Cain purchased leak-proof underwear. With a little more confidence, he returned to the garage for his first day back at work, reassured that any mishaps would remain private. Upon arriving, he informed Cain that he planned to take things slowly by focusing on paperwork and catching up on tasks he had missed while away. What Cain didn't realize was that Cain had secretly created a small problem under the bonnet of a vehicle, ensuring there would be a repair job waiting that Cain could tackle himself. Later that day, both men headed back to Wishingwell. Cain proudly told Moira and Mackenzie that they had achieved a lot during the shift, while Cain brushed off the praise in his usual understated fashion. Once Moira and Mackenzie left, Cain settled onto the sofa beside Cain. Although Cain looked less than enthusiastic about sharing his quiet evening, he didn't object. Deep down, he had recognized what Cain had done at the garage and understood the kindness behind the gesture. When Cain later admitted that Cain was a talented mechanic, Cain's reaction said it all. Receiving a compliment from Cain is no small achievement, and the praise clearly meant a great deal. Their relationship has been evolving in recent weeks. Not long ago, Cain surprised Cain by helping him secure somewhere to live. After discovering that Cain had been sleeping in a barn on the farm, the Dingle family stepped in to support him. Cain eventually offered him a caravan outside Wishingwell, giving him a place he could renovate and make his own. Tampering with a car to encourage Cain back into work may not have been the most traditional solution, but it was certainly typical of Cain's way of thinking. As a mechanic himself, Cain recognized that returning to the garage could help Cain rebuild his confidence and adapt to the changes in his life. While much has altered since the operation, his passion for fixing vehicles remains unchanged. The scheme didn't instantly make them best friends, but it highlighted the growing respect forming between them. Cain and Cain may still have very different personalities, yet they're finally beginning to understand one another in a way they never have before. Determined not to let his condition control him, Cain purchased leak-proof underwear. With a little more confidence, he returned to the garage for his first day back at work, reassured that any mishaps would remain private. Upon arriving, he informed Cain that he planned to take things slowly by focusing on paperwork and catching up on tasks he had missed while away. What Cain didn't realize was that Cain had secretly created a small problem under the bonnet of a vehicle, ensuring there would be a repair job waiting that Cain could tackle himself. Emmerdale is broadcast on weekday evenings at 8 p.m. on ITV1, while episodes are also available to watch from 7 a.m. via ITVX and YouTube.